It all started one rainy evening when I ducked into the only open Starbucks on my walk home. The storm had broken out of nowhere, violent, thunderous, and unnaturally cold. The store was nearly empty except for a few customers with their noses buried in laptops. I had been there before, but tonight something felt different. The air was stale, as though the HVAC hadn't worked in weeks. Still, it was better than getting soaked. Behind the counter stood a barista I didn't recognize. She was unusually tall and lean, her apron hanging stiffly like it had been pressed onto her frame. Her skin was pale, almost gray, with veins visible near her temples. Her eyes were impossibly dark, so much so that I couldn't tell where the iris ended or began. She greeted me with a stiff smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Welcome to Starbucks," she said in a low, mechanical tone. "What can I get started for you?" I hesitated but gave her my usual order. As she turned to make the drink, I caught a strange movement, her arm bending at an unnatural angle as she reached for the cup. It wasn't like a human bending. It was like segments moving independently. I brushed it off. Maybe it was just the poor lighting playing tricks. I took my drink, nodded a quick thanks, and sat in the corner. But as I lifted the cup to take a sip, I noticed something scrawled under my name in marker. "You saw me." My throat tightened. I looked back at the counter, but the barista was gone. Not in the back, not anywhere. The register screen flickered. And then the lights dimmed. I left in a hurry that night, my heart pounding. Maybe I was overreacting, I told myself. Maybe it was just some twisted prank. Still, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those eyes, those empty, hollow eyes that seemed to swallow light. The next morning I called the store. A man answered. "There's no female barista working here," he said, confused. "I was on shift last night. No one fits that description." I asked if there were cameras in the store. He hesitated. "They stopped working a few days ago. We've been waiting on a tech." Something didn't add up. I decided to stop by again that evening, hoping to clear my head. It was less stormy this time, but the tension in the air felt heavier, like the city held its breath after last night. When I walked in, the lights were brighter, the music was playing, and the staff looked normal. I almost laughed at myself, until I looked behind the counter. She was there. Same apron. Same two long limbs. Same cold, dark eyes. And no one else seemed to notice her. I approached slowly. She didn't greet me this time. Just stared. I looked around, trying to catch someone's eye, to confirm I wasn't crazy. But every customer remained frozen in their little world. "Why are you here?" I asked, barely louder than a whisper. Her head tilted. Then she leaned in close. "You saw what you weren't supposed to," she said. Her voice sounded like it came from the walls, not her mouth. "Now you belong to the brew." Before I could respond, a gust of freezing air blew through the store. The lights flickered again. And this time all the other customers turned toward me, smiling that same empty smile. I stumbled out of the store and into the street, gasping for air like I'd just escaped drowning. Something was seriously wrong. I wasn't imagining this. That woman, or thing, was real. I felt its presence cling to me like the stench of burned coffee. When I got home, I threw the cup in the trash, but curiosity got the better of me. I pulled it out, wiped off the lid, and turned it slowly in my hands. My name was still there, but the message had changed. This time it read, "See you soon." I froze. Then something even stranger happened. My receipt printer started whirring on my desk. But I hadn't used it in days. I approached cautiously, my fingers trembling as I pulled the slip of paper out. Item: 1 sol lot, paid in full. No total. No tax. Just that. I didn't know what to do. I tried calling the store again. This time no answer. Just static. Then a click. And then, breathing. Deep, guttural, inhuman. I hung up. I couldn't sleep that night either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Her smile. Her hand reaching across the counter for my soul instead of a cup. The next morning, I went to another location. Just to be sure. Normal baristas, normal coffee, normal everything. I asked them about the other store, and one of them looked at me strangely. "That location's been closed since last year. Gas leak. They never reopened." I stopped breathing. That store shouldn't even be open. But I had been there. Twice. So, where exactly had I been? I decided to go back one last time. I had to know the truth, no matter how disturbing it was. I waited until dusk, my heart pounding with every step toward the store's address. As I turned the corner, the Starbucks was there, lights on just like always. Except, it wasn't. The windows were blacked out. Dust covered the doors. A large, closed until further notice sign was taped to the glass, weathered and curling at the edges. But as I stood there, confused and horrified, I felt heat on my neck. The lights flicked on inside. Flickered. Then steadied. The door creaked open, though no one touched it. I stepped inside. The inside looked exactly like it had when I last visited, clean, polished, organized. But there was no sound. No music. No machines humming. Just the faint smell of burnt espresso and mold. And then I heard it, the hiss of steaming milk. She was behind the bar again. Only now, she wasn't hiding what she was. Her face rippled, flesh shifting like liquid latex over bone. Her hands had too many fingers moving like spider legs. The barista uniform stretched over a body that was longer, wider, and utterly inhuman. "You came back," she whispered, her voice now overlapping with others. "Male, female, young, old. We knew you would." I backed away, but the door slammed shut behind me. The walls seemed to pulse, the overhead lights flickering like a dying heart. "You took our drink," she hissed. "Now we take yours." I screamed, but no sound came out. Only the distant ring of a bell, like a customer walking in. Except there were dozens of them now. Shadowy figures. And they were all empty. I don't remember everything that happened next. I think I blacked out. Or maybe they took something from me, memories, time, maybe even a piece of my soul. When I came to, I was behind the counter, staring out through hollow eyes. The apron was wrapped tightly around me. My arms moved automatically, pouring drinks, handing out cups to people I couldn't see clearly. My voice wasn't mine anymore. It echoed like it belonged to someone else. Something else. I watched as people walked in, smiling, ordering, laughing. They didn't see what I'd become. They only saw a tired barista behind a counter. And with each drink I served, I felt something stir deep inside. Hunger. Not mine but theirs. The others who stood in the shadows of the break room. The ones who never left. The ones who used to be like me. Sometimes a customer would stop and stare at me a little too long. I'd feel my limbs twitch in response. My face would stretch into that cold, mechanical smile. And I would write something on their cup. A message. A warning. A mark. And if they came back, I'd remember their face. You see, we all start as customers. But some of us never leave. So if you ever walk into a Starbucks you've never noticed before, where the lights flicker and the barista never blinks, don't order anything. Don't make eye contact. And whatever you do, don't drink what she hands you. Because once you take a sip, you're already one of us.